Thank you. And first question off the cuff. So from this one tweet that you sent out regarding the podcast, how many conversations have you had so far?
I scheduled like 30,
Okay.
so maybe I've done half of them.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, thanks for doing God's work. So for the first question, just for myself, the first time I came about your businesses and you was through LinkedIn. So working in ad tech, a bunch of people were sharing their CXL certificates on LinkedIn. And my question would be, how did you come up with the idea of certification? Was that something very obvious to begin with? Or did the customers reach out to you and say, hey, I would like to have something for my employer to justify it?
Yeah. Let me think back. So we launched CXL Institute, now called CXL, 2016. I think we did launch without certificates in the
Mhm.
beginning, and people wanted it. It was a constant, regular request through our live chat or other support channels, and then we fairly quickly implemented it, and we used a third-party blockchain verifiable certificate provider. We use a Credible, and then so everybody who gets a certificate, and not everybody wants to. Maybe only 50% of our students are interested in a certificate. But it has, yeah, as you mentioned, it has become kind of a thing where it's creating word of mouth for us because people are posting it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter.
Absolutely. And in terms of business model, so are you charging extra for that certificate or is that just like purely included in the
It
subscription?
just comes with it. We are in the business of skills and know-how, so we're not in the business of certificates. So that's just an extra, and not everybody is motivated by it. Everybody wants more skills, better skills. Just some people want to also show it off.
Yep. Yeah, that makes total sense. And so, as you mentioned, skills, you had a tweet yesterday, a video recording where you were talking about differentiation and how you think you have a vision for the future that is very different from other e learning providers. So, I guess you're hinting at task based learning.
Exactly. So when we look at the e-learning space, it has dramatically changed in the last 10 years. I had my first edtech startup 2009, so I've
Mhm.
been in this space for a while. And the key things that has changed is the technological barrier of entry. Now anybody can build their course in the next 5 minutes because the ample amount of platforms available that make it really easy. Video hosting is cheap, if not free, and everybody has access to really cheap equipment. We
Mhm.
all have a decent phone in our back pocket. Access to lights, like decent lighting, is readily available. So like the barriers of entry have gone down. Like the creator economy is booming. And so what this means is that in the e-learning space, like in any category really, it's a red ocean. Like there's a huge amount of competition going on. So there are the big guys, the well-funded companies like your Coursera's, Udacity's, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning. So those guys, they have the biggest market share. Obviously, good brand recognition, huge amount of volume. LinkedIn Learning releases 60, 70 courses a week.
Jesus.
Like insane volumes.
Yeah.
And then there are all these creators. Anybody with a camera who knows something about something can create their own course, and they're doing it. And then there are like these mid level players, like there's CXL and Reforge and then Digital Marketer, and finding their own way. And so having a moat in this business is very hard, and I can talk about this for another hour. But what is also happening globally with e-learning is that the course completion rates are abysmally low. Of course, some people argue that it's not a good metric to use, and so I tend to agree. And And why is it? Why is it that and then the churn? You know, whoever has a subscription model, they have a big churn problem typically, especially if you sell to B2C where people are price sensitive. And the reason is that learning seems something extra, you know, at your work. And I'm not talking about courses on crocheting and then I don't know, like stamp collection. I don't know anything about that. So B2B, in B2B courses where you're learning skills that you can use at your work, that's all extra. So at your work, your boss, your supervisor asks you, "Hey, did you do XYZ?" They don't ask you, "Did you do your learning?" And I know this very well because we've sold a lot of training. We sold through outbound, mostly through inbound. But I know, like also managers. Let's say we sell to marketing, so marketing directors, they don't care about training. It's not a perceived problem. I mean, in principle, sure, everybody cares, but in like, do you want to pay money for it? Nah, not really.
Especially now, right?
So, and why is the churn a problem? And then so learning being an extra, and you're always busy at work, and your manager asks you to do tasks. That's part of the problem. Another problem with the problem is that, let's say I want to learn Google Analytics. Okay, so there's a course that will teach me everything from A to Z, and it's like 9 hours. Who has 9 hours, right? Is ridiculous. And also, we have done extensive research. What triggers people to buy an online training program? And very few people are strategic about it. That, oh, hey, well, in 3 years, I want my career to be here, and I am lacking these skills, so I want to build the skills. Very few are like that. Those people exist, but it's the exception. What is 90% of the cases is that I have this immediate problem at my work. I have a task at hand that I need to solve right now. And I don't know how to do it, or I'm not sure what's the best way to go about it. And hence, I'm going to take a course. But now, the need that you have is a very limited scope. It is how to set up event tracking through Google Tag Manager so I would fire events into GA. Okay, that's my immediate need. But then there's a 9-hour Google Analytics course that I need to go through, even though I only want that 1 5-minute lesson in there. So that's the problem. So that is a problem where most courses are they're like too big, and it creates mental, emotional big problems. And we know this again through extensive research. It creates people see how long a course is, and they get like a brain seizure, like 5 hours, 100 hours, my God, shoot me now. So instead, they want to ship tasks. They have a task at hand that needs solving. And so this idea that you do online education through courses that are extensive and long and take many hours, it's not a good fit for most use cases. Yes, there is a use case for it. I want to get good at GA, and I don't know nothing, and I want to go from 0 to hero. Yes, perfect use case for a long ass course. But if I'm busy at work, which is 90% of people, that's not a good model. Another problem with these long courses is that they're one size fits all. So it's like they don't like practitioners who are like mid to senior level. They already know a lot of stuff. They know half the stuff already. So if I start my Google Analytics course, I might learn something new that I don't know. But I start the course and it's all this shit that I already knew and learned years ago, and I get bored and I abandon it. And then it shows up in the churn rate, in the course abandonment rate. And so task-based learning is, I have a specific task at hand. I'm not an idiot, so just tell me how to do it. And so if I want more granular, more detail, I can like go in and learn more. Or like the way we're going to solve it at CXL is through playbooks. Every task imaginable that you want to ship in marketing or other areas, let's say set up event tracking, create my positioning strategy, build the prospecting lists, whatever, we serve it as a 10-step playbook. Well, here's how you do it in 10 steps. And each step links to another playbook. So if you need more context on how to do step number 2, there's another playbook that teaches you. Let's say there's an SEO playbook Step 2 is do keyword research. Oh, if I'm a pro or like actually an average marketer, I already know how to do keyword research. I don't need to no more, say no more. Whereas if I'm new to this, I can click on it and here you go, 10 steps how to do keyword research. So and the beauty of this is that I have a specific task at hand. It takes me 5 minutes to learn the task, and I'm implementing in the next 5 minutes. Learning by doing is the best way to learn.
Huge.
Just watching 9 hours of video is useful, but not as immediately putting it into practice, which is why task-based learning is the future. And the
Huge.
rent.
Yeah, well, it's a great rant and resonates from so many perspectives. Like as a marketeer and practitioner myself, I also don't want to read the Neil Patel post. It takes me like 20 hours to complete.
Oh
And
well, I mean, also all of it is a bullshit lie outsourced to a guy from Pakistan who gets paid $3 an article and knows
well,
nothing about it.
yeah, it's a business that works for him. But um, what's interesting, or the question to me then is, so CXL previously had a catalog with, I would say, evergreen content, so like hours and hours of top teachers that
Still do.
exactly. So you still do, and then the task-based learning model would be complementary to the evergreen catalog, or would it be?
Exactly. So the course model, as I said, there is a use case if you want to go from zero to hero. It's perfect. Like I don't have a specific task. I just want to know more about this or get really
Yep.
good at this. This is especially good for people who are entry level. Let's say, oh, I don't know what account-based marketing is, but everybody's talking about it. So I want to know how to eat it. And
Mhm.
so I take a course on account-based marketing. Perfect, it's perfect. But if I've already dabbled in account-based marketing, and I have a specific task, so what are the different ways to set up like the sequences, and how much high touch should I do versus low touch? Like a very specific task, then a big ass course is not a great solution to my immediate problem anymore. And task based learning is what is a better fit.
Got it. And so I think you mentioned in the conversation with Sujan a couple of weeks ago that you have a backlog of, let's say, 1,000 dedicated tasks or playbooks that you can think of that a marketer would have to do. And the question would be, if you have, let's say, you can do 1,000 different micro playbooks, but the capacity of your team is limited. How do you prioritize? So do you have a mechanism to get input from your customers in order to prioritize, or yeah.
Yeah. So CXL playbooks, which is our next product. I mean, it's not even well, it's in private beta, so we have a limited group of people who are on it on the limited aspects of it. But like the main private beta launch is still coming up, and the public launch is second half of this year. So gathering data from actual users, that is all coming. So currently, when we're getting started with this, we have a data-backed approach, which is, there's ample data available on like what is anybody doing on a daily basis? How are marketers spending their day? What are they doing day in, day out? In different roles. Like
Mhm.
when you imagine a marketing team, how you have your acquisition people and conversion optimization people and analytics people and brand people and so on. So they all do something. 80% of tasks that they do day in, day out is exactly the same thing. Everybody's doing the same thing. And so we're going to start there. We're going to start there, which is like the 80-20 approach. First, we're going to nail the basics. And not in terms of like basic tasks, but the things that everybody does.
Yep.
And we already know what they do. We don't need to interview people for this. The data is already out there. After that, the next phase is, I mean, there's also other signals where, like there's could be Google keyword research per topic, how to topics, things like that. And obviously, we're going to then take requests and upvotes for like, hey, I really need a playbook on how to do this. And so we are in the back end building a very sophisticated machine to be able to rather quickly build these playbooks on how to do anything And each playbook, of course, is content from somebody who's an expert at this particular task. So not like rando Neil Patel bullshit. Well, now your sound is coming through. Well, let's try again.
Thank you so much for giving it another shot. So let's see if we can take this one until the end. So yeah, the question was around the experts. Are you working with your own staff or are you working with external people?
The experts do not work for us. I mean, some of the playbooks I have authored, and there are other people in our team, but 99% we are relying on the global experts out there. So for every, let's say, subcategory and niche of marketing, we have identified who are the who are people that we can trust. So we have basically a list,
Yep.
list of people. So who are the SEO experts, who are the PPC experts, and so on and so forth. People who have considerable experience on the field, who have proven expertise, who have demonstrated it through maybe they've been an active content creator, things like that. So we have a validation process there, how we validate that somebody actually knows what they're talking about. And the playbooks that are being created, some of those are also conflicting. So let's say how to go about creating positioning strategy for a company. Two different people who are both experts at the field might have a different take on it. So we also publish multiple playbooks on it. So it's not like no playbook is this is the absolute truth, but this is how Rand Fishkin does SEO. This is how this other person does. This is somebody's PPC targeting methodology, and this is somebody else's. So you can compare different methodologies, try them out, see what works for you.
That makes sense. So then I guess since the task-based learning is asynchronous, which makes sense, otherwise it wouldn't be scalable, how do you measure success? Do you measure impact somehow, or like when do you know that you've
impact,
done your
it's
job?
impossible for us to measure. People, companies are not even measuring success internally, so like not to mention a third party. But basically, we have built-in feedback mechanisms on the playbook pages where people can rate how, first of all, how easy this playbook was to understand and execute on, and then how useful was it. So we're gathering feedback that way.
Got it. Not over engineering. I like that. Yeah. So let me just see if there's anything else. Since marketing obviously is moving very fast, do you have already a approach to content updates and revisioning of the catalog?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same process as we have for production. So yes, absolutely. Especially when it comes to tools, changes are constant. So yeah, we just need to keep on top of it. It's a really sophisticated content engine that needs to be working. So the operations side of it is substantial, really. It's really a hard thing to solve, which is why I also think what we're doing is also a moat for us, because just a creator with an iPhone in their back pocket is just not able to replicate it, which is why this is not going to be red ocean.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I would have said watch out for me and for my courses, but obviously you have a much bigger staff at hand. And yeah, I think like the overall education market space is super fragmented. So there's so much talk about these cohort-based courses, but that almost feels more like a B2C play where people wants to kind of push their own individual career. And I think what your vision is like very, very tailored towards B2B work contexts, no fluff, direct impact. And it's a pretty interesting model because when I started, creating a small, small in quotation marks course on brand strategy, it still ended up being 5 hours. And you described exactly the problems that I'm facing right now, which is I have people who run ad agencies who don't need any of the introduction sections around like what's a brand, what's a trigger, yada yada yada. And then you have people who come from, let's say, beauty backgrounds and wants to create their own personal brand. Very different use cases. Some of the content is overlapping, but it definitely makes sense to fragment. So yeah, makes sense to me.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. For ideally, this would also be solved with not through static video, but more of create your own adventure type of thing, where based on the options that you choose, think of it as a computer game
Yeah.
or one of those movies where you can click and choose what happens. Uh, Netflix has dabbled in this, and
Bandersnatch, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I think
Mm,
that is the future, and which again, whoever goes down that route, it's it's much harder to do, and there are already startups offering a platform to do this. I've seen them. Again, the moat goes higher because it's harder to do. The harder something is to do, the less competition there is.
of course.
So right now, e-learning space, this course space, is so fragmented because there's the barrier of entry is literally zero. Of course, most have distribution problems, and they'll give up because then they don't make any money. Distribution is still a big problem for the small players, but creating the content, that's not a problem.
Grading definitely isn't, but yeah, and then the improving and making sure that you learn from the experiences. That's kind of a problem that I have right now. I quickly uploaded everything on Gumroad. I get transaction numbers of how many sales I made, but then after that, it's literally crickets. So the more data you can generate and the
Oh
smaller the
yeah,
learning units
yeah,
are.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, for sure, yeah. You ideally you self-host the videos and you can see exactly the activity rate per
Yep.
video. So we have at CXL very extensive video dashboard. So we know exactly which videos are boring and what are engaging.
Yeah, with more data comes more knowledge. Yeah, Pep, thank you so much. It's I'll give you 2 more minutes. It was fun. Sorry for the Wi-Fi fuck up. Yeah, we'll cut it out. And yeah, thanks again for being so vocal on Twitter and sharing everything that you're learning. It's fun to watch
My
from the
pleasure,
outside.
man. Thanks for the chat.
Okay.
See you later.
Yeah. Thanks, Pep. Bye.
Peace.